transponder, makes the panel real clean. Obviously, you have room for an iPad. Options-wise, you can get a second G3X if you wanted to.
Okay.
Really anything. So the panel has a lot of real estate on it, which is nice.
Now, if you put that in here, though, you'd have to, some of these would have to move.
Yeah, they would just move down below.
Oh,
I mean, you would rearrange it.
I see, okay,
and
so the whole panel would change then.
Correct. And we have the different panel layouts that we send to customers, so they can visualize the different options.
I see, okay.
We make it easy. It's kind of a cookie-cutter setup for them, so they can choose between what they need, all the way up to full IFR. So,
okay, cool.
Yep. And, yeah, that's about it. So, throttle back, run the right tank, just pump up the fuel pump, get a little pressure going, and then I'll start the engine.
Clear. Clear here.
See, we can turn off our fuel pump. We got plenty of pressure. So mechanical's working great. For the Rotax, obviously 120 degrees before takeoff for the oil temp. We're already there because obviously it flew in.
Sure.
Oil pressure's good, RPM's good, everything looks great. So we're ready to taxi.
All right.
And then it's really easy to taxi. I mean, pretty much hands off. I'm just using rudder. The rudder is connected directly to the nose wheel.
Yeah, pretty responsive, but not twitchy.
Correct.
That's good.
We're going to go ahead and bring it up. You can go all the way to 4,000. I usually tend to go about 35 just because I don't really need it to be at 4.
Right.
And it puts less stress again on the airplane. All right, close enough. So first one down. We have about 120 RPM drop. Next one. Yep, about the same. So we're good on both mags.
Good on both mags.
Fuel pressure sustaining in gallons per hour is holding nice, so everything's looking like it's working good, so we can bring power back out. This has electric flaps, electric trim, electric everything. That is another nice feature. So what I do for takeoff, just to keep the undercarriage nice and not worn and torn and prolong the life of my tires, I go ahead and put about 10 degrees of flaps, gets me off the ground quicker.
Okay. And is it a single button push or is it infinite?
Nope, it's over. Yeah, so you can hold it. If you look right here, we have our flap indication, so 0 to, and then right now we're at the 2, so we could keep going down.
Okay, but it's wherever you want to set it.
Correct, it's wherever you want to set it. All right, so for education purposes, I'll walk you through this takeoff.
Yep.
Very simple. We'll line up. We're going to accelerate the power slowly. That way I feel anything intermittent going on with the engine along the way. It's just a habit from being an AMP. So I just like to ease it in, give it full power. We're going to keep back pressure on the stick to keep the weight off the nose wheel.
You got it full aft?
No, not full aft, just a little back pressure.
Okay.
And it'll fly off on its own, and then I basically climb it where it feels nice and light, where it wants to be, and then I trim it if need be. So, all right, ready?
Ready to roll.
All right, fuel pump on, a little bit of power. Feet are off the brakes. I'm just using the rudder pedals to keep us down the center line, obviously.
Okay.
So now we got full power in, and we just hold a little bit of back pressure, like I said. Bring that wheel up, there we go. So now we're just kind of wheeling it down. I do that on purpose, but then right here we have an AOA. So that's what it's beeping. It's telling me, you know, we're right at that cusp. So given I have 10 degrees of flaps right now, I'm climbing out about 60, 65. I'll bring it back to 60 right there. So now we just hold that. And we're climbing nice and easy.
And where's our climb indication?
Climb indication VSI is right there.
Okay, I got it.
It's fluctuating a little bit with the thermal, so.
I'm passing behind you across midfield.
Roger that. We'll be departing off to the south and then to the west. See, we reached about 1,000 feet per minute there.
Yeah, right.
Towards the end of the runway, so average about 500. And then I can pull it back or remove the flaps as need be. So we're holding 60. We'll just bring her around. Once we reach about 1,000 feet, I'll bring her back on the power and turn off our fuel pump. Normally I would just pitch it for the climb, and I can release the yoke itself and let it climb out on its own. But because we're going to be cruising here in a minute, I'll just leave it in the cruise setting. All right, so we're at 1,000 feet. We're doing about 100 knots right now, 5120, and we're just cruising along. Now, I could turn on the autopilot, which obviously would allow me to just release everything.
Right.
But it's really trimmed out, as you can see. It's very stable, so there's no need to do any of that.
Charlie's turning final, runway 6, Spruce Creek.
We're staying right at 1,000 feet, so obviously we'll get impacted a little bit more by bumps, but we're doing that to stay out of the Charlie airspace without me having to talk to Daytona the whole way. So our ground speed's about 103 knots, 5,200 RPM. Really nice and easy, smooth flying. We have to land off our 12 o'clock there, so I'm pretty much just flying with the rudder. As you can see, the ball stays in the middle. It's a very well balanced / stabilized airplane.
Yeah, really quite comfortable in here. The seats have good comfort to them. And so now here we are, we're stable. We're doing 108 knots, is that?
Yeah, so 105 indicated, 108 through, 103 ground speed.
Okay, that was the GPS.
Yeah, so we have all of this. True airspeed's 111 right now, 112, 5260. So we're moving right along.
Yeah, we're just shy of 110 indicated.
Yep.
And we're at what RPM here?
Right now we're at 52, 60, 52, 80. It's just fluctuating a little bit.
This is a cruise number, and we are at low altitude.
Yeah, we're at 1,000 feet.
You add 9,000 feet to this, and we're going to be cruising along pretty good.
Yeah, exactly. And you can see, I mean, right now we're burning 5.5 gallons an hour. So I have it up on that screen on purpose. We're at 3.7 on the fuel pressure, which is plenty, and then we have plenty of fuel. So if I tap this, I can go back to our main street. You can see the lands right ahead of us.
Okay.
And I can put that in. It'll do the boxes. It'll do all kinds of stuff. Obviously, you can configure the layout for the G3X, so you can do the glass panel. I like, obviously, round gauges. And then you have all your engine gauges.
This is a very common setup for many people, I think.
Yep. And it's pretty much hands-off flying. Even without the autopilot on, I'm really just keeping my directional control with the rudder due to the thermals, that might be blowing us left to right. But for the most part, it's centered, and we're just going down.
I'm going to do this for a second here while you're doing that.
No problem. Yep.
Oh, wow, look at that, right away. Almost.
Oh, yeah, very responsive. So.
And the controls are quite light.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I can't feel any friction to that. And,
nope.
I'm sure you could do that even better, but for the very first crack at it, those are good Dutch rolls.
Oh, no, yeah. Those,
your airplane again.
No, my airplane. Yeah, no, the airplane's very agile. Very light on the controls. Like I said, it's very streamlined, so it's a well-designed airplane.
I would say that for really big guys, it's a little compact in here, but you'd have to be pretty big. I mean, you and I are average size.
Well, right now, we're pretty much both in line with where we would be as pilots, because you're obviously flying as well. So with a bigger guy, you could easily move the seat back.
True, yeah.
And you'd be offset, so you stagger it a little bit. But you have plenty of room back there, as you saw, and then that third door allows for all that baggage anyways. You can feel the air ventilation, too. It's got really good air vents. There's 2 down there on the panel. There's 2 up here. Nice amount of airflow coming through. Because I love the way it flies. It was hands-off, just like this, Very easy. Not a lot of stress for the pilot, especially customers that we have that are coming out of 10-year stints of not flying. So this is really easy for them to transition into. Or people stepping out of what you would consider, GA airplanes down into light sport. This has a yoke, It's very, very similar for them. So mentally, they don't have to relearn everything. It's just an easy transition for them.
Yeah, so I was saying that your timing about, or Bruno's timing, I guess I'll call it, about the emergence of this new regulation and the ability of this airplane to carry more weight and with a bigger engine go a little faster. I mean, it seems to me like you got a little bit of a wait time before that all happens, of course, but we're pretty sure a lot of those developments that we've been looking for are going to happen.
Oh, yeah.
So this could easily be an LSA with higher weight capacity and more capability. And then it makes one wonder, 2 seats in the back? I mean, how far away can that be? Yep,
exactly. Well,
because we know that's what this airplane has as a history. So.
Exactly, and this airplane has a room for it, so you're not having to go out and buy another airplane now that, oh, look, they allowed 2 more seats, let me go get a different airplane. You can just modify yours and you're back and flying again. So
that'll be an interesting add-on for people to go, hey, look, I hardly ever use them, but why not have those seats?
Yep.
Make the airplane worth more.
Traffic, 50 Bravo Romeo, left base, runway 5, V-land, full stop.
I know this is a very familiar exercise for you here, but
yeah.
Nonetheless. Okay, so walk me through your landing here.
Yep, so real simple. I just put in 10 degrees of flaps on the base. I can put an additional 10, 20, whatever I need on the final. I'm going to leave just the 10 degrees in so we can do a little longer rollout so I can talk you through it.
Okay.
But basically, we're just letting it fly around. We have an established rate of descent about 500 feet per minute. I have the power not all the way out yet, which I'll just pull on final. I don't have the fuel pump on, but that's because I am monitoring fuel pressure, so I have plenty of pressure. So now that we're on final, I'll go ahead and pull that power out, and then I'll just let it bleed off the airspeed as I descend. Yep.
Airspeed is currently 67.
Yep. So it'll start to decay as I get lower because I'm going to shallow my rate of descent.
Okay.
And I'm not going to need power for any of that. I can put in more flaps if I need to for more lift. Land traffic 850 Bravo Romeo is on a short final, runway 5, full stop to land.
Traffic on number 66090 turning final, runway 5.
So now we're over the runway. We're pretty much in ground effect, so I'm just going to pull it back to hold it so I don't land on the display threshold. We're right down center line, so now we're just going to touch down right on, hopefully, the number, but we missed it by a little bit. That's okay.
Not by much.
So I'm not using any brakes right now. I'm just holding back pressure to keep it, let the speed decay on its own. So the nose wheel will drop on its own, and that's, of course, just to keep it at basically the least wear and tear as I can. Now, if I want to make Charlie, I'll just slowly apply a little bit of brake.
And drop back down.
Yep. So I'll just apply a little bit of brake so I can take Charlie here. Now I can relax everything on the controls because we're going slow enough. Bring my flaps up so I increase my brake effectiveness. Not that I need it. But there we go. And now we're clear of the runway, so I'm going to let them know here in just a second.
All right.
Normally this is where you would turn your fuel pump off. Of course, we don't need it. We're still at 5 psi, so I monitor that on my landing instead of over-pressurizing the car.
That's such a nice, clean,
very easy to see.
display there.
Yeah, I keep the engine gauges up for landing and takeoff just because I like to look at that kind of stuff.
I like that. That's a good process.
So this is where, at this point, you'd have your after-landing checklist, which, like I said, is very, very simple, so I got that memorized. But the land traffic, 850 Bravo Romeo is clear, the active on Charlie to land. All right, so we are now off the runway, and we can do whatever we want.
Okay, well, let's just go around and go back up.
Sounds good. So this airplane holds 36 gallons of fuel.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so right now, actually, we have 27 gallons of fuel. Just to give you an idea, right? So that's a lot of weight. So we have carrying a lot of weight in fuel. We have a lot of weight in, in terms of both of us being in here and the airplane itself on an empty scale. So it performs very, very well.
Yeah.
Land traffic 850 Bravo Romeo is on a quick roll. We'll be out of your way here in just a second. Runway 5 to land.
Yeah, I wouldn't call it a short fun.
Well, for the land it is. All right, so full power, and here I'll turn on the fuel pump in just a second.
Anyone on land base for runway 5?
There we go. We have plenty of airspeed in, so I'll just pull back on the pressure on the stick, let it fly off on its own.
About 54, it looks like.
Yep, I tap the brakes, keep the vibration down, the wheels turning. Now we're just flying off. I'm still doing about 65, which is a conservative climb out. Yep. So I tend to like to gain as much altitude as I can, as quick as I can. Now, granted, if I want that beeping to go away, I lower the nose a little bit, let that speed build up, and it'll go away. There you go. See, so now we got more of a 500 feet per minute.
I don't think I've heard an audible on an AOA before. That's interesting.
Yeah, there's
I kind of like it because that way you don't have to pay attention to the screen.
Right. Yeah, you can turn that on or off as need be. Yeah, one of the things I was going to say about the nice features of this is the fact that it flies fast as well as it flies slow very well. So I can do.
All right, let's go into some slow flight then.
Yeah, so I can pull back some power, really get that gallon per hour ratio down, below the 4 mark, and still fly very comfortably.
We're below 4, and our power setting is 4,600.
Yep, which I can bring back to. We're doing 86 knots, so we're just going to be back out power, establish or non-descent right here. And I'm just going to go into a slow flight mode. This is no flaps. You can see how the VSI is kind of settling. I'm going to pull up a little bit. We're coming up on 60.
Traffic, control 34, Romeo, left base 19, over now.
That beeping is getting more insistent now.
Yep, so you can see the one red line.
Yeah.
So we're right at about
see the red. Okay, there's
right about 100 feet per minute. It's slowing down to about 50 there, and then we're at 50, almost 55 indicated. We're just holding it here.
And how much flaps do you have now?
Zero. Zero flaps.
Okay.
So hear the beeping, it's saying
there's the steady, okay.
Yep. So we're just flying along. We're just kind of probably forward speed is not that great. Well, yeah, we have a tailwind, so. About 54 indicated, 100 feet per minute, which I can pull back a little bit to descend that. There we go. So now we're going closer to 0. So the AOA is telling me, like, we're right at the verge of a stall.
Yeah, the AOA is, without screaming in your ear, it is nonetheless very attention-getting.
Yep, so there we go. 0 VSI, almost 50 indicated, and we're just putting along, and it wants me to put the nose down because we're going to die. That's what it thinks. So we're just flying along.
Great.
So, and it's not braking at all, right? So I can continue to pull back and brake if I want to.
If you're nearly all the way back,
but... So we'll just go ahead and bring in a little bit, relax the pressure, essentially. The speed builds up. AOA starts to calm down. The
airplane really well behaved during that.
Oh, yeah.
So let's, you still got it pretty slow. So let's do a little maneuvering.
Sure. What maneuver would you like to see?
Let's do some Dutch rolling.
All right. We'll come back into the wind here. Your airplane? No flaps? Yeah, it's a clean airplane, so it takes a little bit to bleed off the speed, so you may be ahead of it in reference to where the power setting needs to be, because it will catch up eventually.
Oh, that's flaps.
That's flaps. Trims, yep. There you go.
Okay. Now we're roughly flight final approach. Still good authority, although I am now using, to get this, I'm using pretty much full deflection on the aileron.
Yep.
But it is behaving quite well. I'm not quite as smooth as I'd like to be.
Yeah, we have less airflow, obviously, over the control surfaces at this speed. So.
Right, and that was at about 70, that was showing that, so good that way. And there's a couple thousand feet, that's good enough. Power's about 5,000.
45 for left downwind runway.
Yeah, quick response on the ailerons.
Yep.
Not only are they very authoritative, even when slow, but they're quick when you're fast.
Thank you.
Plus, the ailerons look big and they feel powerful like big ones would be.
Yeah, they're just not heavy, which is nice.
No, they are not heavy. The control pressures, the muscular effort is quite light.
Yep.
Adding no trim just to feel what the pressures are and keep return.
Turning left crosswind for runway 6.
Very agreeable. Don't really need the trim.
As you know, with like a 172, you got to do like 2.5 turns on that wheel to even make this type of turn. Whereas here, you really don't even need it.
Yeah, I didn't use any from neutral.
Yep.
And you're right, it would be what we used to call 2 or 3 handfuls.
Yeah.
That big wheel.
And in the center there.
Try trimming it out just to see if how well it holds this turn on its own.
Nice.
Banked over pretty good. I'm a little mistrimmed. That's not the airplane's fault. That's the operator's fault.
Yeah, Bruno did a really good job with this.
Traffic, November 6711 Alpha is down.
Okay, we're 1,600 feet.
And
clear out here. I'm going to do a slow approach to stall.
All right.
Traffic, November 66090, turning left crosswind, correction.
No flaps?
Downwind, runway 5.
No flaps unless you want them.
I'll do that later.
Traffic, yellow read gyro.
Yoke far back, holding it back, not doing anything at all, no controls whatsoever. That's pretty mindless.
Yeah, it's very
that's
mundane.
just like really nothing on that. So
yeah, very mundane.
You're not going to get much trouble on a landing approach that way.
Nope.
Okay, now we're doing one again with just cruise power.
90 Papa inbound for landing.
Good.
We're about 5 miles to the north.
There it is.
Thick is full aft. I've not made any control inputs whatsoever.
Nope.
Those are very nice quality.
You just feel a little buffet and obviously the drop. So.
Number 66090, turning left base.
Try that in an accelerated.
Land traffic, Saratoga 84 Hotel, turning left downwind, departing the pattern to the southwest.
Okay, powers again, low cruise. Coming back in about a 30-degree bank. Thick is full aft. Just roll level. Very nice.
Yep. She inherently wants to fly.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, stalls are about as little threatening as I've seen in one of these.
Turning in left crosswind, runway 5 to land.
There we go.
A little more to the left, understandable. That's prop
Wind's
factor.
coming out of the east too, so.
But very, very unthreatening.
Yeah, it wants to turn into the wind at that point once the weather vane. Put our trim down here for cruise.
Yeah, it's all nicely finished inside and out. I mean, it's a really well executed airplane.
Yeah, it really is.
And, you know, some people talk about banging their knees. Well, boy, that's...
Oh, no, yeah, it's not a factor here.
Not even anything.
Hey,
and yet the panel is not so far away.
You can't even really bang your shin, because...
I can reach, you know, all parts of the panel from this.
Yeah.
You know, that's as far away as I got to go. I'm leaning forward a little bit, but
that's a nice thing, too, is you don't accidentally hit stuff. So
yeah,
that's
true, right.
That's one of the things I like. Yep, so we're pretty trimmed out. We're going against the wind, obviously. We're doing 108 knots right now. I have it at 55,060, so we're not...
That low cruise kind of
yeah, so 92 knots ground speed, 109 indicated. So we're doing pretty good here.
And temperatures all the while, I've never seen, I mean, the cylinder head temperature has always been like midway in the green.
Everything stays in the green, yeah. Just because we're doing a lot of power manipulation, I end up adjusting the fuel pump on or off, depending what we need, you know, a high angle attack, you get the fuel tanks in your wings. But other than that, that's really the only I guess you would call variable that I had to consider. Everything else has been where it needs to be. We're actually cool on our oil temperature.
Yeah, right. I'm impressed that the temperatures are so low. Because it's a fairly tightly cowled engine. I mean, it's...
So see, now it reminds me to switch fuel tanks because we've been flying long enough for that. So I can go ahead and do that. I'll turn on our little fuel pump. We'll go to left tank. There we go. You feel a little detent, and that tells you that you're where you need to be.
What is the airplane selling for?
You can get one for 140, I want to say 145.
Okay. On
up to about 180, or even 200, because if you do the 915 with all the glass and the IFR and all the shit, you're going to be probably right around 205.
Okay.
So it's but I mean, you're talking now all the bells and whistles, top of the line,
and it's so well finished and everything. I mean, the interior is really well finished.
Yeah, these seats are amazing. They're real leather. They recline. And that's not a feature you see a lot. I mean, I'm talking full recline. We'll lay down there in a minute.
I did see a picture of it. I think I had a picture of it, fully reclined. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah. There also is too. The nice thing too, Gary has the handicap version of this airplane. So Bruno's done a lot of work to make it to where it's handicap accessible. But we do have different gear heights also. So he has two different gear legs that he can put on. So the airplane can sit taller or sit lower to the ground.
Oh, okay.
And that makes it easier for people who have to get in from, let's say, a wheelchair into the aircraft, right? So that's why low wings are pretty much out of the question for them. But with this, it becomes something feasible. Spruce Creek traffic, 50 Bravo Romeo, approximately 3 miles to the east, or correction, west. Inbound going to be coming in on a straight in for runway 6, Spruce Creek.
Okay, so do a first landing. Let's do this one as a short. Show me a short field approach.
Obviously, we'll put in a lot more flaps, and that way it keeps it soft, keeps it flying slow. We'll land at the, I guess, soft field type short field landing.
Yep.
That way our rollout's not very long.
Sounds good. And what would be the max flaps that you can get out there, Alex?
That's a good question. I want to say about 35 degrees. We'll bring them in and see what it looks like.
Okay.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, they get pretty big out there, all right.
And Spruce Creek traffic, 50 Bravo Romeo is on a 1 mile final, number 2 for runway 6, full stop. I should tell them I'm doing a slow flight maneuver, but.
Good.
There's our AOA telling us that we're getting slow.
But it's nice, though. You can fly with that gentle beep and know you're hanging it a little bit without being too slow.
And 50 Bravo Romeo, super short final, runway 6, full stop, Spruce Creek. We're exiting right now.
A good thing we made this choice.
Right?
Since he occupied the runway that long.
Alright, so I got no power, and I'm just kind of floating down.
Yeah, and we're only...
letting it build up a little energy so I don't have to put the throttle in once we get down.
Okay, okay.
And we'll round out and just hold it off. It's a little too much energy, but that's okay. And then I would just brake.
Wow, good.
There we go.
Okay, cool.
We'll back taxi a little bit.
Yeah, you can just go over there to that taxiway these guys are.
And Spruce Creek traffic, 50 Bravo Roomy is clearing onto the taxiway.
Cool. All right, so very capable of a short field landing.
Oh, yeah. From the point we touch down to where we stop at maybe 300 feet or 400 feet.
Okay, so do a normal takeoff and then let me try the landing coming in and we'll call it a wrap.
Uh-oh. And we're all set. You ready?
Yep.
Okay, here we go.
I'll just follow with you.
Yep. I'm just going to accelerate. I keep a little bit of back pressure, so we'll pull it back. I kind of do a soft field takeoff every time. I'm just using rudders to keep it down the runway. Nose wheels up, and then I just let it fly off. See, now it's beeping at me. Boom, it picks up. And now I'm just going to let it accelerate to about 60, 65 would be ideal. So given where our trim is, I'm going to push it a little bit forward. There we go. And now I could trim here so I could do this hands off, obviously. But I'm just going to keep it because we have it trimmed for when we were coming around the pattern.
Sure.
Spruce Creek traffic, 50 Bravo Romeo, left crosswind 6, Spruce Creek. I'll let you have it. Your airplane
is mine.
Airplane is yours.
Flaps are up.
Flaps are up. Yep. Fuel pump is still on, so we'll just leave it on.
Okay.
I might turn it off on the final because it gets high pressure with the wind turning the prop. So I don't freak you out.
Thank you.
Like, why did you turn that off?
I'm not seeing. I got nobody out this side. Nope. You got anybody?
I do not. We're being the numbers right now.
Okay.
And I got nobody.
Back to.
It shows traffic on the screen too, so there's nobody on the horizon.
Yep. Okay.
I just like that screen. See, I see the high fuel pressure.
Yep.
Spruce Creek traffic, white helicopter departing runway 6, repeat, Spruce Creek, right turn out to the south.
Yeah, what's our numbers? Oh, there we are. Spruce Creek 850, Bravo Romeo, turning base leg, runway 6, Spruce Creek, full stop landing.
Yeah, sorry. I could have done the calls for you.
No problem.
You got a lot going on with new planes.
Okay, and what's my flap extension speed?
So, yeah, you're well into white arc, so you
like
can
70?
put down as much as you want. Like 75, you can start putting in flaps. And these flaps are very stout, so you can even put them down past that.
500.
Spruce Creek Airport 850, Bravo Romeo, short final, runway 6, full stop landing, Spruce Creek. Okay, I'm not going to add any more flaps. We've got enough flaps.
Sounds good.
Speed is a little fast. Power's all the way back, slowing it down a little bit more.
Yeah, we can bleed that off once we get down there. I know it looks like a short runway too, but it's not.
Coming in there good. Not as smooth as you did it.
That's okay. I do this more often.
Yes, you do.
They're looking great. There you are. Down.
Not too
Beautiful.
shabby.
Nope, not at all.
Okay, the brakes feel a little soft to me.
Okay. Yeah, they're normal for me, so...
Spruce Creek traffic, helicopter departing runway 6, Spruce Creek.
Yeah, this is actually pretty typical, but having flown to Paradise and this, they're very similar, so it's just a matter of I didn't notice anything wrong with it or different.
You know,
yeah, you're not going to...
It stops it, but it doesn't jerk it. Not that that's, you know...
Right.
It's the wife and the pup.
Uh-oh. All right, so shut down. I mean, obviously we can turn off all the avionics prior, but I'm just going to go ahead and turn it off. I like to see everything shut down.
Okay.
We have circuit breakers, so there's nothing really worried about blowing stuff. And that's just done by the magnetos, so 1 and then 2. Stops. Ta-da. So everything comes down the way it's supposed to.
Okay.
And then we shut off all the...
I haven't really seen that technique before.